Alright, this is coming from the Geometry 2014 released SOL. This is number 8 out of 50. And today it's asking us about some logic here. It says, which is a valid conclusion that can be drawn from these statements? If a quadrilateral is a rhombus, then it is a parallelogram. If a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its opposite angles are congruent. So it can kind of be confusing because we're used to memorizing all these rules about parallelograms, rhombuses, rectangles, squares, quadrilaterals, all these rules that we have, and really this is a logic question. So we need to label our P's and Q's here. When you're seeing these if-then statements, and we're talking about law of syllogism and law of detachment, make sure you're labeling your statements. So this is saying, if a quadrilateral is a rhombus, I'm going to label that P, then it is a parallelogram. That's Q. So far, logic-wise, I've got if P happens, then Q must happen. Then it says if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, so that's the same statement as Q, then its opposite angles are congruent. That's a new statement, so that I'll call R. So we got if P, then Q, that's the first sentence, and then the second sentence says if Q, then R. So what can we conclude? So this goes back to the law of syllogism. If P happens, then Q happens. If Q happens, then R happens. We say, therefore, remember our symbol for therefore, if P happens, Q happens, it's like a chain reaction. Q happens, and if Q happens, R happens. If P happens, R must happen. This goes back to, if you're in my class, we watch those DirecTV commercials where the guy, he gets angry because he doesn't have DirecTV, he has cable instead. He goes out and he plays some sport and he gets an eye patch, and then people think he's tough, and then he wakes up in a roadside ditch. And DirecTV's ideal there is, if you get cable, then you wake up in a roadside ditch. That's the law of syllogism. It's a silly commercial. Remember, that means syllogism there. So here we're saying if P happens, R must happen. So we say if a quadrilateral is a rhombus, then the opposite angles are going to be congruent. And then looking at these answer choices here, C is going to be our best option. The opposite angles of a rhombus are congruent, so C is the correct answer here. Hope this helps, and keep studying hard.